neither one of us had been back to spend a night, certainly since we left in 1972. So,
a lot of changes, huh?
huge amount of changes. It was a much sleepier town without the shopping and the restaurant selections and the hotels even that you have now. So, okay, this may end up in the cutting room floor,
Hey,
but
it's all good.
for a 16-year-old in Hong Kong whose only resource is the U.S. Information Service Library, which have college catalogs on the stacks, Ohio, Iowa, it's all the same. So I can't say that it was a well-informed decision. I had two older brothers in Illinois, and Ohio was far away enough from Illinois for me and close enough to Illinois for my parents to allow me to come here. But I've never regretted the choice, but it was just pure luck, I would say, more than anything else. I am the youngest of three brothers, and I want to get as far away from them as possible because,
make your own mark.
Well, you live a pretty isolated childhood when you're in a place like Hong Kong in the 1960s. And this was my chance to spread my wings. And the last thing I needed was two older brothers telling me what to do or what not to do. So didn't know a whole lot about it, I have to say. The concept of a college town is quite alien, I think, to a lot of foreign students. University towns are the exception rather than the rule internationally, I would say. A lot of universities are in major cities. You get university towns in Germany and a few countries like that, but not that much.
Not like they have here.
Not like they have in America. And I have to say, as a foreigner coming to this country and ending up being an immigrant as well, and having lived on both coasts in the United States, as well as having lived abroad, I thought it was really, in hindsight, absolutely the right decision to come to the middle of the country, learn what about American culture, what the average American is like, what they're compassionate, they have a passion about, or what drives them. Than being in New York, Boston, or California, or Washington, where I live now. That's not where the real country is. If you want to understand America, spend time in the middle of the country. And I'm certainly very glad that I did that for 5 years, having spent that in Athens. So I landed here as not yet 17-year-old.
Okay, so you were even a little bit younger than
I was very, very young, yeah.
So it seems like
Well, that was part of it. I think partly by being somewhat sheltered still in a college town. I think if I were going to school in New York, that would have been too much stimulation for a 16, 17-year-old who leaving home for the very first time. There would be a lot of distractions. Going to school was what the whole experience was about, and trying to take advantage of as much as what the university can provide in terms of new experiences was part of the process, and one that, at least for me, I can more easily have taken advantage of in this setting than if I had been in California or somewhere else. And I ended up living in California for a long time and living in Washington now. I like those places. But that wouldn't have been the right place for a 17-year-old just starting university at that point, I don't think. The experience was strange enough to process without having the same sort of pressure that you might have in a city or or even a larger school, a different kind of school. You know, people were very kind to me, welcomed me to their homes. Not just my fellow students inviting me for Thanksgiving dinner at home when they realized that I would be, you know, spending Thanksgiving in the dorm by myself, but also the people in town were very welcoming. I had numerous jobs when I was here, including at the college bookstore, and met a lot of local people who became friends. And so it was the community embraced me, I thought, in a way that may have been more difficult to find. I mean, I'm sure there are other college towns that might have happened. My experience happened to have been here in Athens.
Okay. Because like you said, you
I
led a
don't.
pretty sheltered life.
Yeah,
and-
I'm not sure whether that's true or not. I may have been a little bit more self-confident for that age than some of my peers, maybe. I don't know, but I guess I was open to it. And I think, you know, if you were a foreign student in Hong Kong or China or Japan, I don't know that would have happened as quickly,
At that time?
or even now, than sort of Midwestern decency and friendship that was displayed to me. I think nowadays universities are much more organized in terms of structuring things so that these experiences don't happen by accident, but also by design. I noticed that difference when my children went to college. You know, from the day they moved into the dorm, they were getting a lot more help from the university. I would say in the 60s it wasn't quite that way, and you were just kind of thrown into the fray. And some people responded to it better than others. But you know, I think for my peers, students from Hong Kong, there probably would be a range of experiences. You may be right. I may have been more open to it. I was willing to be out there a little bit more social, maybe. But certainly the community was also welcoming, and that was the point. And I want to make sure that gets across.
Sure. No, I think,
I went to Marietta once.
Oh, you did? When?
When I was in school here for a Judy Collins concert.
She played at Marietta College, maybe?
At Marietta College.
Oh, wow.
So,
Interesting. Yeah.
so
I
I had a date, and
The whole 9 yards, huh?
and we went up there.
Very
Well,
nice.
someone had to drive. I didn't have a car.
Right. Right, exactly.
So my undergraduate major was in economics and what was then called government, but would be called political science today. So I had a double major, and then I stayed another year, a fifth year, and picked up a master's degree in international affairs. I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah, he's still here.
I understand. Yeah. He was a very tough professor, the way I remember. And he was pretty tough when he came to Washington and advised, I wanted to say the Reagan administration, but maybe.
He might have.
No, he spent a year or two in Washington, yes.
Yes. No, I know. And it doesnn't have to be rated G.
Yeah. Well, a number of things. I learned to love American sports. Including sports I didn't know very much about. I tell you this funny story. I got here a little bit early for foreign student orientation or something before the other kids showed up for quarter. And one day from a distance I saw the football team practice. And I had never seen football before, American football before. and they were scrimmaging, and was basically the line was scrimmaging. And I couldn't really see a ball from the distance that I was at. But all it looked like was two lines of people bumping heads at each other. I said, that is a really strange sport. What kind of sport was that? We had pretty good teams when I was here. We had a 10-0 football team when I was here. We had a baseball team who went to the College World Series. Mike Schmidt, who played for the Phillies, was on that team. We had pretty good basketball teams, as I recall. Didn't achieve as well, but it was interesting enough for, I think, a lot of the boys who were foreign students sort of gravitated to that, and was a way of building school spirit and community, sense of community, and so that was something that I definitely took away. I was telling the Dean of Arts and Sciences that as I was walking up to see him, Bob Frank, that one of the incidents that I remember was a alum who visited my dorm when I was either a freshman or sophomore. And I think I must have been asked to shepherd him around. He was a Kodak executive who came down from upstate New York, and he spent a day or two in the dorm with us. I thought he was pretty old, but I'm very sure that he was younger than I am today. But I thought, what a tremendous sense of giving back to a university that he obviously loved. That he would come back and, night or two in a smelly boys' dorm, and sort of engage in BS sessions with us all night. Remember, the 60s was a tumultuous time. I was here when the university closed right after the shootings at Kent State. But to have someone volunteer their time like this made quite an impression on me, and it's shows of love for the university and wanting to give back that I think that have stayed with me through many years. So. I don't know that it's made a huge difference. I haven't really sort of networked professionally through the Ohio connection. I think it was more of a personal journey of maturation, given the time and space to mature. And not to say that I was very mature when I left here, but and looking back, that journey is much more meaningful to me than I realized even 5-10 years ago, I would say. It's only been recently that I've been more in touch with the university. I met the university president when they invited me to a meeting last year. So it was really good to reconnect. Of course, I shouldn't forget the fact that I, met my life's partner here in Athens. So, so that certainly is a lasting legacy.
The class?
It was not. It was not. She was with us in the social group that I was somewhat connected with, and then that's how we met. But
caught each other's eye.
I guess, but I'm not sure we caught each other's eyes right away. She was dating my roommate, as I recall, but maybe she moved on to better things.